2 years ago, Americans watched in horror as a crisis unfolded at the Kabul airport.
There's desperation and anguish.
More than 80,000 Afghans have since arrived in America, but this story is still unfolding. I'm Andrea Martin. In my new podcast, Stranger Becomes Neighbor, we'll find out what happens to these new arrivals in our communities. Who would help our newest neighbors? Follow us at kslpodcast.com, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you listen.
Welcome back to Project Recovery. Our guest today is Patrick Williams. Dr. Matt and myself are kind of breaking down the 12 steps of AA. So we are now on to, I believe, step 6.
Step 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. So basically, once we understanding step 5, we're ready to have, these defects of character sort of.
Yeah, read that again. Just read that again.
We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character.
Okay, so 4 you've listed them. Mm-hmm. 5 you've shared them.
Correct.
Now you're turning to your higher power to remove these defects, these resentments, these issues that you've uncovered and shared.
It sounds kind of like a baptism.
Oh, yeah.
In a sense.
A cleansing.
A cleansing of,
You're making a real change.
It's being willing to have your higher
up.
power sort of remove these character defects that you found in step 4. Right. And however you want to do that, praying, meditation, they talk about prayer, meditation. I meditate 15 to 20 minutes.
He meditates.
I do.
Every day.
Josh should.
Yeah, Josh, you should.
I meditated once.
So, it's kind of... this is an important part of your recovery. Willing to.
So there's not a specific ceremony because it seems sort of like a ceremonial step. You're likening it to baptism, and I think ceremonies have that aspect of kind of finalizing a change or
a finality,
signifying a change.
I've heard of people with their sponsor. They pray together, like as they're working this, and then they kind of admit, and or you can, I've had other sponsors say they've done it on their own, and then. You can kind of work those steps however you and your sponsor.
Can we ask how you've been?
I haven't done that yet.
You're still on 4.
He's still
right?
on 4.
I've been working on my 4th step so this is a good kick in the butt for me to get my butt in gear.
Well, I wouldn't. I mean, based on what you're saying, I don't think rushing step 4 would be a good idea, right? I mean,
no, it's not.
Although you did say you're lazy.
I have been. I should be, you can get through this, relatively quickly if you want to.
Like over lunch hour?
I don't know.
No,
I mean, there's the 4 steps, the 4th step in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it breaks it out into basically 3 different sections within your 4 steps. So, you're listing your defects, your sexual inventory, your fears, and then all the people that you've harmed. So there's like 3 sections in there that could take you a while.
I find when we say we're lazy or when people admit to procrastinating, it's often because there's an avoidance aspect. We're avoiding something about it. Right?
It's uncomfortable. I don't want to do it. Yeah.
And I could see how step number 4 would be very uncomfortable if you're really being honest. I mean, that idea of who have I hurt? Man, that's kind of heavy, right? Because if it's open for interpretation, that could mean a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And I could see how it would be easy to sort of stall out on step 4 because we're avoiding that emotional struggle, to push ourselves to do that. So
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's been a moral inventory of taking a deep look at myself and all the things that I need to change and all the things that I intrinsically knew about myself that I hated, but putting those down on paper now is it's hard. It's hard to read. It's hard to understand, and sort of reliving those moments and the shame, the regret. It's an important step for an alcoholic, again, that can't be honest with people or themselves. So,
all right.
Step 7.
Step 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. So basically this is sort of, saying a prayer or meditation. Or
I thought that was step 6.
Step 6 is we're ready to have God remove all these defects of character. So those two are...
So it's like preparation.
Yeah.
And then step 7
is the action step. Yeah.
And that's where you actually do a prayer or a meditation.
Do a prayer, meditation, or whatever. Say it out.
Can you text him?
I don't know.
No, okay.
What's up with you today? Man, I thought I was supposed to be. I thought I was supposed to be the snarky one.
You can Instagram it.
Yeah. I think I might have a concussion from this morning.
Yeah. But here's the thing that I mean, a lot of the stuff in the 12 steps, I really do agree with. And
so far, it's all pretty golden, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, like I said, even if you're not an alcoholic, these are good things to do. It's not going to hurt you. And I think the thing is that you don't want to rush through these. And if it takes you 4 years, it takes you 4 years. Yeah. As long as you're moving forward, I always feel like you're doing okay.
Yep.
And as long as you're just keeping, they say it in AA all the time, another 24 hours. Some people say, I'll take another minute. I'll take another 30 seconds. Whatever's moving you forward, I think is helping you out. Step 8.
Step 8 is made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So this is a tough one.
Yeah.
This is making a list of all these people that you've harmed, the wreckage of your past, right? But that's hard in itself. But then having to go make amends to those people.
So those are both in this step. Make the list and make amends.
I know there's a caveat in that saying...
no, you have to be willing to make amends. The next step talks about actually doing those amends.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Willing to make the amends. Okay. Yeah. Then I'll save my caveat for the next one. Yeah. So step 9.
So step 9 is make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. So basically this step's talking about you wanted to make these amends. There could be certain situations where you might have relationships that are completely
over. They don't want to talk to you.
They don't want to talk to you, and it could cause more harm than good. Like you might have a restraining order and you can't go over make direct amends to this person, or else you'll get thrown into jail. Right. So you have to be smart, and that's why you have a sponsor to kind of talk you through this process. Be like, I made amends to my ex-girlfriend before I actually did this step because the timing was right. She reached out and came into my life, and I talked to my sponsor about it, and I said, do you think this is a good idea? And he's like, yeah, I do. And, it's hard. Like, it's hard sitting there listening to somebody and saying, hey, this is what I did. I'm really sorry about this. And then you kind of have to sit back and listen to their version of the story. And, you want to, your alcoholic brain wants to tear into him, right? You want to be like, that's not how it happened.
Fix it, massage it, manipulate it, whatever you do.
You got to sit in that discomfort, and you have to listen to their version of the story and say, you're right.
Some people won't take an apology, or they don't even want to talk to you, and you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because, they might just go, look, I'm done. I can't do it anymore, and I don't want to hear it, but thank you for trying.
This is like that Seinfeld episode.
Here he goes.
Which one?
James Spader. Yeah. James Spader plays a guy who's working the 8th step, right? And he comes around to make amends to everybody, but he won't make amends to George. To George, because George is upset,
Yeah.
And anyway.
But that's
that is the word. I can't believe I'm the only one.
I've seen that episode.
Okay.
Costanza.
There you go.
But that's the thing, is a lot of times people don't want to hear it, and that's their right.
This is kind of the step, though, that does make it into TV shows and movies, because it's like the quintessential, action step where you're going around and asking for forgiveness.
Yeah, and that's hard. Like that's a really hard thing to do for any type of person.
Yeah,
not only an addict.
There was a guy who came to work with me about other things a while back, and he had been holding this guilt his whole life about a really mean thing he had said to a girl on the bus, and it was a racial thing that he had said to her, and now he was in his 30s and he felt bad. We talked about this, and he wrote her a letter and never heard back from her, but just by going through the motion of apologizing, he said it just made all the difference in the world to lift that burden that he'd been feeling so much guilt. And I think any of us, if we really do a moral inventory, there are things we've done and said to people, actions that we're not proud of. And if we were to go back and really try to make amends for those, how much better we'd feel about ourselves.
You're listening to Project Recovery. We're going over the 12 steps with Patrick Williams. That was step 8. Coming up, step 9.
I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. Don't miss Cold's new Season 3, where I look into the unsolved disappearance of Cherie Warren, a woman last seen leaving her job at a Salt Lake City office in 1985. Police cast suspicion on Cherie's estranged husband and boyfriend, but never made any arrests or recovered Cherie's remains. Find Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie, anywhere you get your podcasts.
All right, step 9, Patrick. What do we got?
We just did this one. We're on 10, dude.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was never good at math.
Yeah,
Which one of us has a head injury today?
Or climbing steps.
Continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it.
And I do that quite a bit now, in the recovery world. Stuff that used to trigger me or whatever, I'll take a deep breath and I'll go, you know what? I overreacted. I'm sorry. And I think that goes back to what I'm doing in my recovery right now, and that's running an honest program. And when I say running an honest program, I'm running it, honestly, the best way I can. I'm not always 100% honest. I'm just not. I mean, I wish I could, but I'm trying, and every day I'm trying.
But don't you think just that having that on your mind and having that as your personal motto, probably you're honest way more than you ever were in your life before?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's important because, you could make these direct amends, and as an addict or an alcoholic, we've apologized profusely throughout our careers, right? But our behavior never changed. So making these amends to somebody, I call them living amends. Like, this is an action step. Like, I'm apologizing to you and I'm making amends with you, but I'm also going to change my behavior. And these steps are a part of that. This is a part of my recovery. This is just the first step for you to understand. I want to clean my side of the street, but my behavior's changed, and you're going to see that, or you're not. Or, this is just going to fall on deaf ears, right? You're just going to continue in that cycle.
From
of
that
abuse.
perspective, you can see how we don't blame. A lot of people have heard it from you, from the addict, many times, and so it's not until the action proves our words that maybe some people can soften their hearts.
Well, it comes from that old saying, actions speak louder than words.
Right.
Yeah. And so, and I think what Patrick is saying is exactly right. He's like, I'm going to tell you this, but not only am I going to tell you, I'm going to do it. And you're going to, the proof's going to be in the pudding,
there
so
you
to speak.
go. Wow, how many sayings was that? That's like 3 sayings in
right?
I want some pudding now.
Yeah.
Step 11.
Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God. As we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out.
See, now that step feels more like a statement of religious practice in step 2 to me.
Right.
I could see how people might feel like that's a very
there's
like
a lot
not
of
a spiritual but actual religious.
Yeah, there's
practice.
a lot of mention of the word God in these
it's
steps.
Not just God.
And
read it again.
sought through prayer and meditation to prove our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out.
Yeah, so his will for us. I think sounds like a beautiful way to live your life. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I could just see how that's
off-putting for some.
More religious sounding than spiritual sounding.
Again, that's your whole adage that's saying your Boy Scouts, like doing the next right thing, right?
Yeah.
Like leaving it better than you found it. That's kind of what that conscious contact, having a conscience, like knowing what's right, knowing what's wrong. We're taught that as a kid, but it could be interpreted many different ways. So that kind of what I think that steps.
I like that, Casey. That's sinking in now that we're sitting here talking. I like applying the Boy Scouts. I mean, that's coming from a guy who only ever got one merit badge.
Yeah.
So. But I like that because that's how
I was a tenderfoot.
Me too. Nice. Tenderfoots unite.
Unite.
My boys and I, when we go camping, we talk about that. You want to leave your space better than you left it, and I think you could apply that. I love that. You could apply that to any interaction. You leave the room you left better emotionally than you left. You know?
Yeah, as long as you do that, whatever's on the other side, you should be okay.
Yeah.
Step 12.
Step 12 is having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message, what I'm doing, to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So this basically ties it all together, puts a cute little red, whatever your favorite color, ribbon on it, and says, you need to practice these principles. You're not done. You need to constantly be in that, step 4 through 9, and you need to share this message.
It sounds like a real commitment to life change. You've changed your life.
Yes.
And you're committing that I'm never going back. This is how I'm going to live my life going forward.
And a lot of people in the rooms, this is why they stay and they come back, because they were given such a gift of sobriety that they don't want to just hold it for themselves. They want to give it to somebody else. And by giving it to somebody else, it reaffirms your belief. And so that's what they do is they give it back. Somebody gave it to them, so they want to give it to somebody else. And so that's part of living it and sharing the knowledge that you have. And that's how you become a sponsor.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, working the steps, and then you can start to carry this message. Again, they talk about attraction, not promotion. So, like going on podcasts and talking and shouting from the rooftops, that's not really encouraged. But again, talking to people and knowing, I don't care how you stay sober. I really don't, if it's working for you. Just because you stop drinking doesn't mean that your alcoholism is not active. Like you could be a dry drunk, right?
Yeah.
If you're void of all spirituality, what are you going to replace that drink? Like, what are you going to do to stay active in recovery?
Well, just because you stop drinking doesn't make you a better person. I think a lot of times people think
no,
that.
it does not, Casey.
Yeah, but I really think people are like, hey, I got sober and life's not better. Well, what are you doing different?
We've talked about the fact that there may have been a reason the person started drinking in the first
well,
place.
Yeah,
Life was hard.
I drank because I wanted to numb my depression and my anxiety. I smoked weed because that was my solution at the time, right? Because I wasn't willing to confront these step 4 ideas, these fears, these things. So what am I going to do to overcome that? Work these steps, be active in recovery, work a spiritual program, an honest program, pray, meditate daily. When things come up that bug me, I have resentments, I call my sponsor and I can talk to him. I actively go to my therapist and we talk about things that are helping me or not helping me, like being aware and present in your daily life.
How many meetings do you hit a week?
I hit anywhere between 3 to 5 every week.
And you can find them. There's an app for meetings in your area. You can search them on the internet. There really is
There's
a meeting.
meetings every day on the hour in the Salt Lake Valley. Utah County has several meetings. Park City has some meetings.
And just because a person maybe travels for work, that's not an excuse.
No, there's a meeting in every city. It's a worldwide
Yeah.
organization.
And we just talked about AA, but there's AA, CA, NA, and a lot of them use the 12-step method.
Yep, they all use that. And there's Al-Anon for family members.
families, yeah.
Yep. I highly suggest if you do have an addict or an alcoholic that you find an Al-Anon meeting and go check it out.
Now, you're not at, what's the apology step that George Costanza's a step? Eighth. So you're not there yet, but I'm going to ask you, Casey, have you found the need, this is pretty personal.
No, I'm good.
So if you don't want to answer it, then that's probably the end of our podcast. But have you found the need to go and make sincere apologies to people? And if so, can you tell us how easy, hard, difficult that might have been?
My list is long. It really is. And I've made amends with, family members, my ex-wife, buddies, people I've worked with. But there's still a lot of people out there that I want to make amends with.
Have any of them been really hard to do? Did anybody kind of say, push you back?
No, I haven't been pushed back yet. There's some out there that I'm really dreading, and I want to make those amends, and I'm trying to figure out how. But in my messed up head, and it's still messed up, what I'm focusing on right now is making a difference. So when I do get a chance to talk to some of those people that I've wronged and I've wronged horribly, that I can say, listen, I'm doing this, I'm trying this. And
this is part of that.
This is part of that, because
you got to walk the walk. You can't just talk the talk, right?
And I don't want it to be an empty...
Yeah. I don't think that's messed up, to be honest. I think a lot of times in life we know what behavior we need to engage in to make a change, but we haven't really committed emotionally to that change yet. And so we rush it, and it doesn't work out like we think it would. Anything from, going to the gym or, reading more books to things that are much more personal, like making amends to somebody that you've wronged. So I think I know you well enough to know that you kind of are driven a lot by your kind of emotional intuition. Mm-hmm. And so I would imagine what I interpret from what you're saying is when the timing feels right, you're going to continue to make those amends as it feels like the right time, which would probably indicate it's right for you and for them.
Yeah.
But I know that's been something. The reason I bring it up today is that's something that you've talked about to me in the past, is that's important to you to really help people, to apologize to people and help them know that you've made a real change in your life.
And like you said, change takes time. And I think there's so many of us. Today, I'm 17 months sober. And that's a big deal for me.
That's awesome.
And I never thought I would be 17 months anything.
Right, except for older.
Older, yeah. But I'm sober today. And I don't want... I want to make sure that I've got this thing moving forward before I go out and premature make amends.
And that's cool, because I think a lot of people would say, 17 months, that's not premature. That's a lot of time under your belt. But we all know that as soon as you switch to that, nonchalant attitude about your sobriety, that's often when it catches up with you.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think we said it earlier on the podcast, actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm trying to do with my actions, is be a better person and leave this place a little better than I got it.
Well, and I'm impressed with both of you guys. I think that's something for anybody who's listening to the show, whether you're a person in recovery or contemplating recovery, whether you're a family member struggling with someone in your life, or somebody who doesn't have something that they would consider an addiction. We all will be better when we do a personal inventory, make amends, try to give up too much false control over our life, and start to live a healthier, more spiritual life. And I think that's I love the fact that you guys are out here setting that example for people.
Thanks. Hey, Patrick, what's the 13th step?
13th step is don't drink.
No, I thought it was. I thought 13th step was hooking up at an AA meeting.
Oh yeah. That's not good. So
He's only on step 4.
My advice is to don't date. While you're in the program, but that a lot of that happens. It's just going to happen. But again, you want to try to fill that void, and people try to do that. So
I'm just gassing you. Hey, Patrick,
you're so funny.
Actions speak louder than words.
Actions. I think the 13th step is dressing like Patrick, man.
Man, he's a shirt dresser. You'll be able to see a photo on our Facebook page.
The brim of his hat is coordinated with his hoodie, and he's got these slick black boots on.
I just love the ego stroking
then
that I
his
get.
hoodie is matched to his glasses.
I haven't, since he was on the show last, I haven't improved my fashion sense at all.
Matt, we're going to go shop. I'm going to take you shopping.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going to send you a bunch of links to the websites.
Okay,
that
good, because
I
I probably wasn't going to go shopping with you.
I love it.
The swag.
The links would be good.
Just the swag.
But I'm old. I can't dress like you, man.
Once again, thank you for stopping by Project Recovery today. It's a podcast about addiction. If you know somebody who needs some help, have them do what I did and give Pinnacle Recovery Center a call. Project Recovery is a KSL podcast.
The contents of this program are for informational purposes only. The program is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, licensed therapist, or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you've heard on this program. KSL does not recommend or endorse any specific tests, physicians, products, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned on the program. Reliance on any information provided on the program is solely at your own risk.